Picture the moment. Not the movie version, the real one. Someone you trust puts a hand on your shoulder and says the words. You're in. You feel something shift in your chest, and it isn't fear. Fear comes later. This first feeling is relief. That relief is not new. It's not even really about the Mafia. It's a switch in your brain that's been waiting to be flipped since before your species had a name for itself. 200,000 years ago, your ancestors survived in small bands. 50 people, maybe 150 at most. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades studying primate brain size against group size, and he found something remarkable. The size of your neocortex predicts almost exactly how many stable relationships you can hold in your head at once. For humans, that number sits around 150. Scientists call it Dunbar's number. Beyond that number, strangers stopped being people to your ancestors. They became a category, a blur, a maybe threat. Inside that number, though, something different happened. You weren't just tolerated. You were protected. Federal defended to the death, if it came to that. Now imagine you just crossed that line. You're inside the number now, inside the circle. The oath they make you take isn't really about secrecy. It's about triggering a switch your brain already had installed, the same one that once decided whether a stranger at the edge of camp got a spear or a seat by the fire. In 1954, a psychologist named Muzafer Sharif ran an experiment that would become one of the most cited studies in the history of social psychology. He took 22 ordinary 11-year-old boys to a summer camp called Robber's Cave. He split them into two groups. Neither group knew the other existed at first. Within days, each group had built its own flag, its own nicknames, its own rules. Within a week, when the two groups discovered each other, they didn't just compete. They raided each other's cabins. They burned the other group's flag. Boys who hadn't met an hour earlier were ready to fight over a patch of dirt. Sharif hadn't taught them tribalism. He'd just given their brains the two ingredients it had always been waiting for. An in-group and an out-group. You didn't need convincing either, did you? The moment you were in, everyone outside started to feel a little further away. A psychologist named Henri Tajfel took the idea even further in the 1970s. He split people into groups based on something almost comically meaningless. A coin flip, a preference for one abstract painter over another. Group A and Group B decided by nothing at all. And still, people favored their own group, gave their own group more rewards, rated total strangers in their own group as more trustworthy, more likable, more human, based on nothing but a label picked at random. Tajfel called it social identity theory. Once you're told you belong to a group, some part of you starts defending it before you've even chosen to. So think about what you just joined. Every ritual, the blood oath, the code of silence, the initiation, none of it is decoration. It's an amplifier. It takes wiring you already had and turns the volume up until it drowns out almost everything else. You call this loyalty now. Your ancestors would have called it survival. Here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. This isn't confined to organized crime. It's the same architecture behind fraternities, cults, elite military units, even a company at its most intense. Any group that hands you a shared symbol, a shared enemy, and the quiet suggestion that the outside world can't be trusted is running the same 80,000-year-old software you just plugged into. Why does it feel so good, though? Why would your brain reward you for narrowing your entire moral universe down to 50 or 100 people? Because for most of human history, the alternative was worse. A lone human on the savannah wasn't independent. He was lunch. The tribe wasn't a lifestyle choice. It was the only thing standing between you and a predator, a famine, a rival band that outnumbered you 3-1. Belonging wasn't emotional. It was structural. It was the actual physical difference between your genes continuing and your genes ending. So your brain built a reward system around it. Oxytocin, the same hormone that floods a mother holding her newborn, spikes when you feel accepted by your group. Cortisol, your stress hormone, spikes the moment you sense you might be cast out. Evolution didn't leave belonging to chance. It made exile feel like dying because for most of your species' existence, it basically was The family you just joined didn't invent this feeling. It found one of the most efficient ways ever devised to trigger it on command. And once triggered, the same system that makes you defend your family at Thanksgiving can make an ordinary person carry out an order they would never have considered alone, because the group now defines what's unthinkable and what's necessary. This is why walking away from family like this is so brutally difficult. You're not just changing an opinion. You're asking a 150,000-year-old survival instinct to stand down. Which brings you back to that hand on your shoulder. That first feeling of relief. You weren't drawn to the danger. You never were. You were drawn to the certainty. The us. The unshakable feeling that somewhere, a group exists that would never let you stand alone against the world. That longing isn't a weakness in you. It's the oldest software your species ever wrote. And the moment you said yes, it wasn't the Mafia recruiting you. It was your own ancient brain finally finding the tribe it had been searching for since before it had a name for what it was searching for.